IRA or 401k, what's best for you? I'm going to give you the complete guide today. Whether you make 50K a year, 100K a year, 200K a year, you got a 401k at your job or not. I'm Matt Sorensen. Let's build wealth. All right, so where do you get started? The first thing you got to look at is whether you have a 401k or other plan at your job. Now, you might be self-employed. I'm going to come to that here in a second, but we got to determine whether you have a 401k at your job because most companies offer a free money match. There is typically a match involved that says, hey, employee, if you put money in the 401k plan out of your paycheck, we're also going to match that and put money in for you for free. They're incentivizing you to do that, and we want to pick up that free money match. I'm going to explain how that works here in a moment and why you've got to pick up that money, because that is where you need to start first, is a 401k where there's a free money match. Now, again, I'm going to go through this by income level. You're making 50K, 100K, and 200K. I'll show you how that free money match works. But first here, we want to need to determine, do you have a job with a 401k or not? The next category is, you might be like, Matt, I don't have a 401k. The employer I work at or the job I have, there's no 401k there or no company plan. Okay, hang tight here. We're going to skip 401ks and go to IRAs for you. But for those of you that have the 401k, we got to dive into that. Now, the third category here is you're like, Matt, I'm self-employed. I don't have a company that puts the match in. If there is a match coming in, it's coming from me because I own the business. Well, there's an awesome strategy for you as well. It's called the solo 401k. So we're going to come to that here in a moment. All right, now let's start with the most common scenario, which is you have a job that has a 401k or other plan with the match. Now, we got to explain what that is. Now, first of all, in a 401k, you as an employee can put $23,000 a year into that 401k. It can be Roth or traditional dollars. Now, you might want to put the whole thing in. We're going to go over that based on income. You might want to just put enough in to get the match. Now, you have to understand how the 401k free money match works. This is going to be free money going into your retirement account as long as you contribute a certain amount. So let's break it down by numbers. This is the typical 401k plan and how the match works. Let's say you make $50,000. The rules say if I put in 3% of my salary, which would be $1,500, the company will match that 100%, dollar for dollar. So they'll put in $1,500. So I end up having $3,000 in my 401k. Like, that's 100% rate of return on your money. Now, if you make 100k, 3%, $3,000, they're going to put in dollar for dollar match, 100%. That's going to get you to 6k. And of course, 200k, you put in 6, they put in 6, you got 12k. Now, some of you might be like, Matt, I want to do more than $1,500 a month. Okay, I'm just starting there. Let's talk about the next level of match that most company 401k plans work. And this is why it gets complicated, and everybody hates retirement accounts because they get so complicated. But the next match works, and this is how most 401ks work. This is called a safe harbor 401k that says the next 2% you put in gets you 50% match. So if I put in another 2%, the company will put in 1. So let's start with someone at 100k. If you're making 100k or more a year, you might be able to say, I can afford to throw more in. So if I put in 5k, I'm putting in the 3% plus the additional 2%, the company is going to match my first 3% dollar for dollar, and then the second 2%, 50%. That gets me $4,000 total, which gets me up to $9,000 in my 401k. Again, $4,000 of that $9,000 is money from the company. This is additional compensation they're giving me to incentivize me to save. I only had to put in $5k to get $9,000. Now, from here on out, you can put more money in. You can get up to $23,000 of contributions on your end, but there's no more match anymore from the company. This is all going to be employee contributions. Now, where we'll see people hit this is if they're in the 200K plus, is they'll say, hey, I'm making more money. I want to do more than just get the free money match. So here, if I'm making 200K, I put in $10,000. The company did the free money match. I got $8,000, and I have a total now of $18K in my account. But I want to do more, Matt. I'm making more money. I want to save more. How do I do that? You can get up to $23,000 of employee contributions. So instead of just putting in 10, I can put in $23,000 of employee contributions. Now, there's no more matching. The most match I get here is $8,000. So I still have $8,000 coming in from the company, which is going to get added in here, and now we're up to $31,000. Now, there's some advanced strategies here called the mega backdoor Roth and such that will get you up to $69,000 a year. We have other separate videos on that. This is the getting started video, so I'm not going to show that. But I just want to show you the potential of what you can get into the account and where it makes sense to go get free money. So let's start here and get the 100% dollar for dollar match. Next step, go get the 50% match. After that, you have additional contributions you can make. And again, here you can see at 200K, I can get easily 31K into the 401k. Now, another strategy we like to play is something called called matching out. Just put as much money into the company 401k and then get out. Don't put any more money in. Just max out, get the free money match, and then the rest, let's go dump it into an IRA, which we're gonna come to IRAs here in a second. You can do an IRA and a 401k. Just because you have a day job with a 401k, or even you self-employed people with a solo 401k, doesn't mean you can't go do an IRA. So let's come back here and check some boxes so you know what to do in your situation. If you have a job with a 401k, you're making 50k a year, go and contribute to that 401k. Go and at least go get the free money match. Same thing if you're 100k or 200k, this is a no-brainer, go get the free money match. Anything on top of that you decide to contribute, it depends on your situation. We're gonna come to that once I explain IRAs, and you can decide whether you wanna put more money in the 401k or put more money into an IRA. Now, I know some of you are listening and you're like, Matt, my 401k at my company doesn't have a match, or the company I work for doesn't have any retirement account at all. Cool, hang tight. We're coming down to IRAs. You're gonna have an ability to put money into IRAs here in a second. Now, for those of you self-employed with no employees other than business partners or family, you have what's called a solo 401k, where you can put up to $69,000 a year into it. And I would do this at any freaking income level. Maybe here at 50k, it's a maybe actually. You may wanna just do an IRA because you may not wanna put a lot of money into the 401k, but the solo 401k is a 401k just for you. The difference on the solo 401k than a 401k with a job where you have a match is you're the employee and the employer. Any matching that's going in is coming out of your pocket because you're the employer and the employee. So there's no free money there to be picked up, but there is a vehicle where you can put up to $69,000 a year into your solo 401k. We have separate videos and trainings on how to use a solo 401k. Okay, now let's come to the IRA conversation, because you might be like, all right, Matt, I'm gonna go pick up my free money match at the 401k and I wanna throw a little bit more money in. Can I do an IRA? Or maybe you don't have a 401k or company plan, so you have no option. You gotta start at the IRA first. Now the IRA, you can put $7,000 a year into it. If you're 50 or older, you get an extra $1,000, so you can do $8,000 a year. Now let's follow down this category here where you have a job with a 401k. Should you do an IRA if you already have a job with a 401k that has a match? At 50,000, I'm gonna say no. We have a company directed IRA. We open IRA accounts all the time. I'm actually gonna say no. At 50k, you should be putting in enough money to maximize the contribution. You probably don't have enough discretionary income to also do an IRA on top of it. Now, if you make 100k, I'm gonna say yes. You're making enough money where you can get the free money match at the 401k. And as we showed down here, that might be $9,000 a year going into your 401k, but only costing you $5,000, but you can throw an extra $7,000 a year into an IRA. Now, a lot of people might ask, well, Matt, why don't I just throw $7,000 more into my 401k instead of opening a separate IRA and putting $7,000 into an IRA? There's two primary reasons why you might want an IRA separate from your company 401k. The first reason is your company 401k has high fees. Most company 401ks have a 1.5% annual fee. And you don't see this fee, it's kind of hard to find, but if you just Google and look for all the reports, the average business 401k is 1.5% in fees. So if you have a $100,000 balance, you're actually getting charged $1,500 a year to have that 401k. So in general, fees for 401ks are higher than IRAs. The second reason you probably want an IRA instead of a 401k is more investment options. Like you might have your 401k with John Hancock, and that's just the company you work for, that's who they chose. So your only investment options is mutual funds and target date funds that John Hancock allows for. But you might be like, Matt, I want to trade stocks. I want to do a self-directed IRA and buy real estate or invest in alternative assets. That's not available typically in most company 401ks. So the IRAs have greater investment options and flexibility and typically lower fees. All right, now let's say you make the 200 plus a year. You got the free money match in the 401k. You might have even maxed out your employee contribution to the 23k. I'm gonna say do an IRA on top of this. Now, at 200k of income, if you want to do Roth, you may have to do what's called a backdoor Roth IRA. We have other videos on that. If you're making 100k or 50k a year, don't stress about this yet. This is a problem for you later down the road and you're making more money. But the backdoor Roth IRA is a high income strategy where you can do a 401k and a Roth IRA in the same year. All right, so let's jump back here, and I just want to explain someone in the middle here. You're making 100k a year, and I did say you should do an IRA and a 401k. Go get your free money match. So we know here at 100k, I have $9,000 in my 401k, and I'm saying if you can afford it, and this is your budget and you're disciplined to save, drop another 7k into an IRA. Now I've got a total of $16,000 that I'm setting aside for long-term wealth building in my retirement account. Now again, if you're getting started and you're starting at zero, don't get overwhelmed by this. Maybe just do the 401k first, and then year 2 or 3, let's come around and maybe then we add in the IRA and you start saving the $16k a year. All right, now I'm sorry, I know you've been waiting here. Those of you without a 401k at your job or any company retirement account, we've got to start at an IRA. So at 50k, you should be doing an IRA. There's no free money match anywhere here, but you can put $7,000 a year into the IRA. And really at every income level, you're going to need to be doing the IRA. There's no company plan, there's no match out there, so it's up to you to do an individual retirement account. Now, if you make $200K a year or more and you're like, Matt, $7,000 a year isn't going to cut it. I want to set aside more money. I have higher income. How can I do more than $7K a year? Well, maybe you have a spouse. You could do $7,000 a year into your spouse's IRA, even if they're not working. Or if they also have a job with a company that doesn't have a 401k, they can be do $7,000 a year into their IRA. So between the two IRA accounts, you'll have an IRA in your name and an IRA in your spouse's name. You could be doing $14,000 a year. And really, that's a tip for everybody. If you have a spouse and you're talking about setting aside money for both of your retirements in your future, make sure you're throwing your spouse into the mix here and whether they can be doing an IRA or 401k as well. Do they have a job with a free money match? Do they have the ability to put $7,000 a year into their IRA? Let's make sure we're not excluding the spouse in the calculation here, because we get certain buckets of money that we can put into, and it's not based on a couple. Even though you may file your tax return married filing joint, the actual calculations of how much you can put in your retirement account is individually based. So you can do $7,000 a year in your IRA. Your spouse can do $7,000 a year in their IRA. Your $23,000 you can put in a 401k as an employee is per person. Your spouse could also be doing $23,000 a year into their 401k at their job. Or you're both self-employed, you can both do a solo K and do $69,000 a year. So the contribution limits are individually based. So keep that in mind for those of you that are married. Now, I know some of you are asking the question right now in your brain, but Matt, should I do a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA? I'm going to come back to that here in a second. Don't worry. We're going to go over the difference of Roth and traditional and when you should choose one over the other. Now, I want to come back to those of you that are self-employed. Now, remember, we said there's no 401k with the match, so you should consider a solo 401k. But if you're at 50K of income, I don't know that the solo K is best for you. It might be too expensive. You can put $69,000 a year into it. You don't need that. It's going to be easier to just do an IRA, get $7K a year set aside in the IRA. Now, if you're making $100K or $200K plus, the ability to put more money in past $7,000 makes sense, and you should be doing a solo K. But you can also do an IRA on top of it. It's optional. I'm not saying start with the IRA if you're making $200K or plus a year. You might want to just do the solo K, but just know the IRA is on the table and it is an option for you. For those of you making $200K a year or more, if you're doing an IRA, you need to be doing a backdoor Roth IRA. That is critical. If you're making more than $200K a year, you're going to need to be considering the backdoor Roth IRA. All right, now I know everyone's got that lingering question. All right, Matt, you said I could do a 401k or an IRA, but should I do a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k? Should I do a Roth IRA or traditional IRA? Well, it depends on your situation. You need to understand the differences here. So let's walk through the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, and it's the same for 401ks. When you put money into a traditional account here, you get a tax deduction. Now, when that money is invested and it grows, you don't pay any tax on the investment growth. That's one of the great benefits of retirement accounts in general. As you're saving and investing that money and the money's growing, it's not going on your 1040. It's not going on your tax return. You get to reinvest every penny and that money is growing. But the downside on a traditional account is we have taxation on the way out. As you're distributing that money at age 59 and a half or later, you're paying tax as you're taking that money into income. So if you're like, all right, Matt, I'm 60 now, I want to take $50K a year out of this IRA or 401k, and it's traditional dollars, that $50,000 is going onto your taxable income in that year. Now remember, the benefit of the traditional account is you got a tax deduction when you put the money in. So if I put $7,000 into my traditional IRA and I made $50K that year, I'm only taxed like I made $43,000. So that's the benefit of the traditional IRA, is tax deductions now, but I pay later as I'm pulling the money out at retirement. Now the Roth is the exact opposite. When you put money in the Roth account, you get zero tax deduction. The government's like, thank you for saving in your retirement account, but zero tax deduction. You made $50K, you're still taxed as if you made $50K. There's no deduction taking place. Now we still get that benefit of no tax as you're growing and investing the money, but the benefit of the Roth account, and why I love Roth accounts, is tax-free distributions on the way out. Once you hit 59 and a half and you're pulling money out at retirement, there's no tax on the way out. It's totally tax-free on the way out. A lot of people think of Roths as, I'll pay tax on the seed. I don't get a tax deduction when I put the money in, but I'm paying no tax on the harvest as I'm pulling all the money out, all the investment growth later on. Now, this is a little more disciplined because I'm trading paying tax now for no tax later on the growth versus I'm trying to chase tax deductions now. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. You just need to think about it. For me and myself, I choose Roth accounts. The value of the tax deduction is super important in this decision. If you're making $50K a year, you should always do Roth. The value of a tax deduction for you at $50K when you're in a 0 to 10% tax bracket is very nominal. phenomenal. So we always want to go Roth at 50K. At 100K, I don't know your situation, your deductions. Some of the deductions might be valuable to you, but I'm going to always lean Roth first, but I could see someone doing a traditional account at 100K. The same thing at 200K, and as the income goes up, I get it. We all want to pay less taxes now, and we'd rather defer it and pay it later. But the more disciplined investors, and the number one account type we have at Directed IRA is Roth accounts. And the reason they do it is they believe they're going to grow that account. So if I put $100,000 of contributions in that account over the years, that account's going to be worth $1 million by the time I retire, and I'm going to take out $1 million tax-free. And if you think of taking out $1 million out of a traditional IRA, and let's say you're in a 30% tax bracket at retirement, you're really only going to get $700,000 of that million, because $300,000 of that is going to go to taxes. So that's the thinking there on the Roth versus traditional. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. I tend to lean Roth. It's debatable. I hope you enjoyed this video, but make sure you go take action already and get started. And the first thing you can do is go download my guide, go to the description, click on the link to download the guide that has the charts here, the explanations, so you can figure out how you need to get started building your retirement.